Ducks with Angie and Friends, and our weekly recap of the floor. Friends joining me tonight are Tony and Alex Z from The Floor Season 3, and my friend Tim from Season 2 is joining me as co host. This week, introduced my favorite category of the season, punctuation, exclamation point. We saw Brian return to the podium. Spoiler alert, he won again. America learned what a pilcrow was, and rookies were called off the bench, never to be seen again. Who's heading to the semifinals, and who do we predict will take it all? Well, let's find out as we recap Season 3, Episode 9. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi.
Angie.
What's up?
Hi, Tim. Tim, Extreme Sports. Tony, Anatomy. Now you are cosplay.
Yes.
And Alex, is it Joe? Alex, is that how you pronounce that?
The pronunciation some people go with is Joe. That's the closest to a Chinese pronunciation without the tones.
Joe, gotcha. Thank you very much. And Brad is here. Brad's joining us rather briefly because he's got some stuff to get off his chest. And then I believe he's going to make a strategic exit so nobody can fight him on his throwdowns. Let's find out if that's true. Hey, Brad, how are you doing? Welcome back.
I just got a message from Jacob commenting that I'm recording from my phone tonight and not in my studio.
I do notice that. Yeah, you're going cash tonight. You're very civilian, not very professional.
Well, I heard Tim was coming on, and I'm like, I gotta come say hey to Tim. I like Tim a lot.
Hey, Brad.
And I wanted to meet Alex and Tony, our biggest fan, or at least I hope she still is. Tony, the anatomy category, it was tough. Like, it was a tough category. I'm going to let Angie get to that when you get to the categories. But it was a tough I was struggling in some of those. I was like, how does she know that? And I'm so grateful that you had the 5-second time boost.
Me too.
Can I say that I'm not?
Well, sorry, Alex. My gratefulness. I'm easily bought, though. If you say we're your favorite, then maybe I'll be sad that she had the 5. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to yeah, I just want to say, oh my gosh, this is hard to say,
It's okay.
but I'm going to say it. If this season didn't have Tony and didn't have Eric and Brian, my 3 top favorite ones, this would not be a great season. I'm sorry. I know, Alex and Tony, you're not going to want to hear that. That's just me. I think season 2 is like a 9 out of 10, and this one's probably like a 6 out of 10. Tony, say it.
Well, I 100% disagree.
I figured
I
you
think
would.
objectively speaking, season 3 is better. I know I'm a little biased, but I would say season 3 is a lot better. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, Tony, I said if it didn't have you helped the season. So
I love Alex. I love Eric. I love those like big, people that just kind of. I feel like with season 2, there wasn't that many like powerhouses. Angie, I'm not talking. Sans
Whoa,
Angie.
I'm gonna fight for season 2 right here, and Angie, just let me defend.
Wait, so
you.
where would you put season 1?
I think season 1 was worse than season 2, but season 1 is better than season 3.
So you put season 3 dead last?
Here's the thing. Hey, Tony, listen to me. Hear me out.
Yes.
You're one of my all-time favorites. But I want to ask
you.
I want to ask you who are the legends? Who are the legends of this season right now?
Probably
Brian,
the people you just named.
Alex. Dare I say me?
Hold on. Oh, hold up, Tony. I gotta dispute you on Alex. I don't think Alex is a legend. No.
Winning that many
I
duels
think
in
he's a
row,
legend.
that doesn't give you legend status?
Hold on.
I think he's a legend.
Eric is a legend. Eric is certifiable legend. He did 7. He's done 7 duels, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he
Is
did.
that right?
5 in a row.
He did, but he done some before that episode, right?
Yes.
So he's done about 6 or 7 duels.
Mhm.
He's a legend. Brian is a legend. Brian's probably done 7 duels too.
Yeah.
He's got nine. He said 9. He said he had 9 wins at the end of the last episode, right?
That's the most ever
Yeah.
on the floor.
Yeah.
They are coming after him every time. He's a legend. Alex, I still question his move.
But still, to do that many duels just for the fun of it, I love it.
I think there's power in like making the irrational move and just crushing it, you know, like
Yeah.
and just
But
like
also,
for the
it's like,
flex,
okay,
you know?
so how
I mean,
many?
as someone who made debatably an irrational move, that's the position I have to take. But like,
Hey, me
We're
too.
not
I went
even
after a
at
time
the
boost.
finale yet. We're not even at the finale yet, and there are 4 people who have gotten at least 7 or more duels. That's crazy.
Tony, you're right. I will give you that. But here's my fear. And please, if this happens, I'm going to be extremely upset.
Uh-huh.
I want you to win this thing.
Okay.
If you don't, I'm going to be upset.
Okay.
But I do. There's nothing against this guy. But I don't want the Jeopardy guy who hasn't done anything to pull a Keelan and win this thing. Like, to me, I don't want him getting it. He has not even been we're on episode 11 coming up. We've got 2 episodes left, right?
And there's 3 people who haven't been challenged. So
3. So you're telling me this guy, he has a good shot of winning because the dude is a genius. So I'm worried he could win this thing. It's going to make me mad because
So
you've at least
could
had
you name some powerhouses from season 2 that you like? There are a few, I would say.
My problem is my mind shuts off. Him as a power. Okay, here's who I like from season
I was absolutely not a powerhouse. Don't say my name.
I'm gonna tell
So your mind shuts off, or there wasn't that many?
Brad.
Or there wasn't that many?
Here's my powerhouse.
I got my list.
Tony. I'm gonna say Angie. I love Angie. Love Tim. Think he's great. I love Mac. I love Megan. I love Kara, who did really
love Kara.
good.
Love her.
Mhm.
Oh
Kara,
my gosh, I love her.
part of the network. She's part of the Hopecast network. Kara. Who else do I like? Those are all powerhouses right there. Oh, and Beans. I love Beans. She did great.
Yeah.
Keelan, I don't consider a powerhouse,
Yeah.
but he won it. So I
Same
have to
season,
give him.
season 1, that was the same deal.
Oh, I can't even say the girl's name that won season 1.
Jacqueline.
I will say this.
Jacqueline, yeah.
I
Jacqueline.
can tell you the spot on the
Oh,
floor where she sat at, where she stood. And I can tell you Keelan's spot. And the Jeopardy guy is sitting in prime winner's territory at the end. He's on the side.
He's not in the corner, but he's close to it.
But he's bordering the end, right? Or does he got somebody?
He has, so it's like he's on the side, and then like Brian is kind of wrapped around him right now.
Yeah, he's like if you go from he's one up from the bottom right corner if you're
Yeah.
looking top down.
Mhm.
But
So
if
you move
it
down
helps,
one,
Brad.
you do the corner.
He will
Super-
not be. He will not
I have
be
nothing against
vulnerable.
Wait,
to
was
anybody.
Keelan right on the corner, or was
No.
he?
Keelan
Keelan
was
was
not. He
front.
was 2 in from the corner on the front line.
Okay.
He was kind of where Claire from season 1, my favorite season 1 player.
I love Claire.
Her and
Yeah.
her and Tom are my 2 favorites from season
Love
1.
Tom. Love Lindsay.
And
Shout
I
out
would
Tom
say
and
I would
Lindsay.
say season 1 had a little bit less powerhouses, but more notable people. I would say, like Pink Suit Guy, he played once and lost, but like I remember him. You know.
Yeah, that dude's charisma was pretty off the
Yes,
charts.
like it was like a lot of like charisma, personalities, and stuff that I really liked. Season 2 also had Mina, which I mean Mina had one really iconic duel, and like the whole time like the camera loved her too, and like so it's like one of those things that's like you don't have to play a lot to like be like a fan favorite.
Well, I don't want to distract too long on the show. I'm going to hop off, but I want to say you're a powerhouse if you come on our shows. So to me, Tony, Alex, you both are powerhouses to me. And when somebody asked me in season 4 who were the powerhouses from season 3, I'm going to say Alex, not Alex, not the Alex that didn't challenge Tony. I just love picking on Tony, man.
It
I'll
sounds
have to-
personal
I'll
because
have
if you don't think he's a powerhouse, I don't know what to tell you.
No, he is. He is a powerhouse, Tony. But he did it for weird reasons. I still don't like the fact they just wanted to play Bravo. That just blows my mind.
Yeah,
That's some, honestly, if I was in his position and it was, for example, my favorite artist is Elton John, but like when you look at me, you don't expect that. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, "What's Elton John? Like that's like an old guy." Da, 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 da. But if someone had Elton John songs, I'd be like, "I'm gonna get the time boost just to play that single square."
And
That'd
plus,
be me.
if it was like Elton John and the expert was like Elton John, that's kind of like the situation that we're talking about. Because like my understanding is that Ira is like the guy on Housewives.
Yeah, exactly. Like the
He gets to,
expert's like Elton
that's
John's
something
husband.
like that. Yeah.
Like-
Exactly. Yeah.
David. Isn't
Alex
his name
didn't fool
David?
me. Alex didn't fool me. I knew he liked. I this guy probably likes Real Housewives. I assumed it.
That's so
Yeah.
funny because my coworkers were just like, "Wow, I didn't expect that. He seems like such a macho man."
Tony,
That
we're
I'm
on
so
opposite.
surprised.
Really?
We're on opposite
Really?
vibes tonight. Anyway, always good seeing you, Angie. I'll let you have your show back.
No worries, Brad. Thanks for
Good seeing you, Brad.
as always. Thanks
Yes,
for
yeah.
your feedback. Have
Nice
a good
seeing
one.
you, Alex.
Take care.
All right, now that he's off, what do we really think?
I stayed quiet. You know what? I have learned when to talk and when to just let him have his space. And there was no winning in any retort there, except to say I think everybody has an opinion about what constitutes good gameplay, and I think that's different for everybody. And everybody's playing their own game. And so for people who are watching it, they're kind of identifying with the people that I think would play like them. And I
Yeah.
get that completely.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how is that for
I-
diplomacy?
I thought he was gonna come after me for not going for a time boost. That's what I thought he was gonna say.
Oh, no. Well, no, he didn't, surprisingly. But we'll talk. We're going to get to that point,
We will.
too, in a little bit. I can never throw any of my formerly under the bus. I would never do such a thing. It's just like there's no winning in that. But he's a civilian, so he can throw and spitball all he wants, and it's his network, so he can get on and say what he wants, and
Do
I
whatever
will.
He wants.
We can agree to disagree, and that's all there is to say about that. So, let's. As I was going to mention, we're definitely going to get through the duels. Some are going to take a little longer to get through than others, because I do think, to be fair, some duels were more exciting than others, and that's just the way the show works. Not every duel is a heartbreaker, heart stopper, hand wringing, emotional moment. So let's just kick it off and get through a few of these before we get into some that I really do want to unpack more, and then give Alex and Tony time to just talk about their experiences and how they were feeling in the moment, knowing that the semifinals were right around the corner and that they'd lasted as long as they had. So let's just remind our viewers that at the end of episode 9, Kathy Zimmer won her 10K. She was super stoked about it.
10K.
And she was coming back to make that decision whether she was going to stay and play or go back to the floor. And she had her own category. Why not go back to the floor and have somebody come at her? So smart move. She goes back. And so episode 10 kicks us off with activate the randomizer. And we do. And this is when we get the rookies. So we've got Sharon Construction going up against McKenna in Baby Products. I'll give it to Sharon. She had a cute moment where she said, I have a baby. She's 37. It reminded me just a bit about me considering whether or not to challenge Amy in season 2 in nursery rhymes, indicating that I have a child, but she's, 18, and I haven't sung nursery rhymes to her in a long time. So I identified with Sharon in that moment. I thought it was cute. She looked awesome. You got to love her hair. You got to love her style.
She's
And
great.
Tim and I, and viewers should know this, Tim's my buddy from season 2. It's Tim Extreme Sports is in the house this week. He and I actually get on and WhatsApp video real time watch the show together. Tim's in Wisconsin. I'm in St. Louis. And I just put him on my phone and set him side by side on the couch, and we play the show in real time. We quip in real time. We make comments in real time. And then we just hash out everything during commercial breaks, which is a lot of fun. So Tim was watching it with me last night, which is why it's really fun he's here tonight to help me co-host. So in this one, I think Tim and I were like, yep, I know all of those. Tim has a 6-year-old, right? Your daughter's 6?
Yeah, 6 years old. And this is one of the things I do really like about the show. It's you have some of the tough categories like the anatomies and some of the academic categories like European geography, but there's a lot of things that are super accessible to people. Like season 1, the very first duel was about tools. Like my at the time, 5-year-old, she's able to identify tools. Like, she's not going to be very good with celebrities. She's not going to be very good with reading, like Taylor Swift lyrics and stuff, because she's still learning to read. But a category like this is super accessible to people, and I don't think either of them passed, right? I think it just came down to time.
Yeah.
And it's one of those categories where it's like it was. I thought it was good. But there wasn't any moment where it's like, oh no, I can't believe they passed on that. Like, it just took a little bit of time for I think Sharon to get through it, and ultimately that's what did it. But I love the fact that we've got some very accessible categories mixed in with some of the tougher ones, the scientific or academic categories that are in there.
I agree, and it does come back to gameplay. I think what makes the game fun for America is that everybody can play along. And it's fun for the contestants because you can strategize. Is this a category that's going to be about esoteric knowledge? Like, do you know this very specific, difficult academic, niche category? Or are you really fast? Like, are you really good at recall? And you're going to know the stuff, the opponent's going to know it, but are you going to know it faster? And I think there's just two different ways of dueling in that respect. Now, I got to ask a quick question. Tim and I, having watched it, we both were like, I haven't seen McKenna before. Like, where'd she come from? We're going to assume she was an alternate. Can you, or do you want to confirm
She
that?
was not an alternate. She's always been there.
She just didn't get any camera time,
Yeah,
huh?
she didn't get any camera. That happened a lot for me for season 2. There was quite a few people that get randomized, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember this person.
Right, and you were on the show. Well, I mean, you knew kind of what to look for and to pay attention to who was there.
No, I meant like for the last season. I remember.
Oh, on
For
season
our season, Angie. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Season 2.
I missed that.
I mean, I talked to McKenna a little bit, but she was so far away from me, I didn't really get to know her that well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember there was parts in season 2. My sister and I were watching, like, do they just like randomly just like pull people from the audience, like last episode, or like the episode they go up? Because this is like so random to me. But I guess some people just get camera time and some people don't.
Yeah.
I will say this, and this is the thing that I really like about season 3 versus our season on season 2, is that I think they have more confessional time kind of in between. And I do think it's for a couple of reasons. One is that they had more time to edit season 3 than they did season 2. So for folks who don't know, season 3 was filmed exactly the week after season 2 filmed. So the turnaround from season 2 filming was late July to mid-September, I think is what it was.
Yep.
We aired September 25th. So that's 2 months of editing and getting it out, whereas season 3 aired right after the Super Bowl. So they had time to probably there's 100 people to start, and everybody is mic'd up with a camera, with a microphone. So producers have to go through a lot of audio to find the real good ones and get that in there. And I think that's a really tough job, I think, and having a bit more time does it. But the other thing that I noticed was that they cut out things like the walkout. Like on season 2, we spent 10 seconds doing every walkout.
Yes,
and
we did.
Season 3, I'm like, after the first episode, I think that you remember that those producers were telling, all right, big energy every single time walking out.
Hey, I was so excited for them to show that walkout, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm sorry to the season 2 people, but y'all's walkout was a dud.
How many
times
energy
every single time?
But
and
how
like,
many
I was
times
like,
were you asked
season 3 to come out, because we're just gonna show them like this is how you walk out? And
but how many times were you asked to do it? That's my question.
We got 2 per.
Yeah, we had about. What do you think, Tim? 4? 3 or
I think
4?
at the very beginning, the first day, I think we did it 3 or 4 times for the first episode, and then afterwards it was one practice, and then we're done. We're going. So
I think that's how ours was.
Yeah,
the first one was like a lot.
But by the time
we know what we're doing after day 2.
Yeah, and by the time you're at the end and you're filming on day 5, I'm sorry, you're gonna kind of lose a bit of that energy if your legs. I guess maybe it depends on age and stamina and
I wore the wrong shoes, so I was just
oh no,
you were just crawling out.
Yes,
onto
it got easier because I mean we know now made it to the last day. So that last day was a lot easier to like for the walkout and for the part where you're like having to stand still.
Yes.
That took a lot
Oh,
longer.
that's the worst
Yeah.
part. Have
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
talked about that on the show? The having to stand there and just
forgot.
smile
Feet,
for
feet, 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 feet.
horrible.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yep.
And we're smiling and we're smiling. Look forward, look forward. We're
Yeah,
smiling.
no,
Feet, feet, feet. And everybody would, and then
They-
that one person would move and we'd have to start again. And it was
Hey,
like,
we had, I would say on our season, we had 2 people who wouldn't quite follow the directions all the time. So I feel like it's like punishing the class for the kids who
Yeah,
can't
really
follow the
was.
directions.
it
We didn't
really
Andrew
was.
and I
have
said
that.
something
Did we
so
have that,
similar to each
Alex?
other. What was it?
Did we have that, Alex, where we had to start over because of people?
I don't
Oh,
think they ever had to start over. They did like kind of passive
Yeah.
aggressively, I think, tell us a few times like, "Hey guys, you gotta look
Okay.
for the smile.
Yep,
Don't
smiles.
talk so much."
and feet. Yeah. So, okay. Well, the other difference is obviously we've learned in the last few weeks that you guys went through nearly all of your alternates, I think, and we did not. And so I
Yes.
think that's why I think Tim and I were both like, was McKenna an alternate? Because there were some new
Are we allowed
faces
to
like
say
Slim.
who were alternates?
We can.
Okay, cool. Because I was an alternate. I don't know if that's come up.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we did not know that, Alex, and we're
Yeah.
glad you would.
I knew that.
You did? Oh, I didn't get. You
I,
didn't share.
I know who we replaced too. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you said I know that too. Never mind.
You
I'm not
came
going to
in
say
really
that.
early too.
Yeah, we're not going to say who
Yeah.
you replaced, but I do know
Yeah,
that now.
We're not allowed to
I
say
was-
that, but I think we're allowed to say because Jacqueline from season 1 was an alternate. So
Yes, she
we
was.
can say if you were an alternate, but not
Yeah,
who you.
but not who you
replaced.
replaced. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah,
So,
I was the last alternate who got the promotion before filming started, and then Phil
you-
and Slim.
Then people, yeah, that makes sense. Very cool. Well, we got construction next. McKenna, I think at this point she's been there. Obviously, you said she's been there the whole time. Probably tired. Probably feeling like she's got to just shoot her shot. She's not going to have a lot of options. She knows David's pretty much catty corner from her. And she says, you know what? I've got construction. Maybe I don't know a lot about it, but I don't think Brian knows a lot about haunted locations. So let's go. So she goes right after Brian. Now, Brian comes back to the podium, as I mentioned in the front. He, spoiler alert, wins again. But, you know, I do think it's interesting. And he goes back, which, again, is really smart. It's been working for him. It's a good idea. This duel, I think a lot of Brian's duels, none of them that I can recall, except save maybe convenience store items, which came down to, I believe, taquito. Right? I think that was like one of the ones that was last, or it was like a buzzer beater. But the duels have been relatively, I don't want to say
messy.
messy, not nail biters, not down to the wire,
one
not
sided.
back forth.
Yeah.
They've been a lot of pass, choke.
Yeah.
I do think landmark architecture went pretty well, but again, it wasn't something that we were all like, oh my gosh. And so in this one, I felt the same way. I felt it was just kind of like McKenna was just pass. And even Brian, I think,
He
understandably,
passed quite a lot.
he passed. So it was kind of a lackluster win. I mean, a win is a win. We'll take the W all day. And
It was
you
a
know,
really hard category though.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest category that I got to see while I was
Yeah.
there. Short of the ones I just didn't know, like Real Housewives.
yeah. But did you study? Did either of you study haunted locations?
I would say up until this point, at least up until this point, any category that Brian inherited, I did not study.
Okay.
I didn't
interesting.
study haunted locations. I didn't study rodeos. I didn't study directors. I didn't because he got like probably the least favorable categories for me on the floor. And at this point, I was touching him.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not even gonna try to study for that. I don't like any of that stuff.
Well, it would, you know, he beat, that wasn't Eric. Help me out. He's a DJ, the guy who had haunted locations from the start.
Oh,
Anthony.
Anthony.
It would have been interesting to talk to Anthony about his choice of category. I mean, if you chat GPT top 20 haunted locations, they all come up. A lot of them do. So I'm not suggesting that it was not studyable. I do think it was maybe a little ambiguous. Are we going to be looking at entertainment, you know, like the Amityville Horror House? Are we going to be just looking at generic haunted places like graveyards and prisons? I mean, I guess it could go in different ways, but there are some famous locations, and we saw them: the Hotel Coronado, the Stanley Hotel, the Cecil Hotel, Alcatraz. It was funny. I asked Tim, we were on the phone together. I go, okay, what do you think's going to
Very
happen?
first
here,
one.
Tim?
Yep.
And I go, I don't know. I think it's going to be something like Alcatraz. And then it was like, boop, boop, boop. And there was Alcatraz. So But I did think it was a little interesting. We don't think Brian had a lot of time to study once he
No.
inherited it from Anthony, because we know that filming is very consolidated.
He had weeks though.
Oh, weeks. Yes. Yes, you're right. And time, time is relative. Who are we to say? But it wasn't a blow away. And for that reason, it was a great category because it was so different and I thought interesting. I loved seeing the Lizzie Borden house on there. Because my fun fact, my daughter wants to be a private investigator, forensic scientist. And so she was obsessed with the Lizzie Borden case for the better part of about 18 months. And she had like a crime board in her bedroom and she was piecing it together because it's still unsolved to this day. If you are not familiar with it, or our listeners aren't, you probably remember the little Donna roll. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. That's that. That's the story I'm talking about. But that's a fascinating little trip down unsolved murders, which we're going to get to murder mysteries soon too. But anyway, I'm glad for Brian. Great. I think he's going to make it at least to the final episode. I'm expecting, although he might lose next week. I guess we'll see what happens. But I'm
He's
glad
in
to
an
see that he's still
awkward
around. What do you think, Alex?
Oh, I was just thinking, like, because he's in an awkward spot. By the end of the episode, there's, I think, 3 non-randomized players. So statistically, like, unless someone just goes crazy, which is possible, it's very likely that David will play. And I am kind of expecting him to go on a rampage when he does.
Yeah. Well, he
And
has
there's only
to
one person
challenge
who can play.
Brian. It's the
Yeah.
only person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody else gets randomized and, like you said, goes crazy and takes out Fables and Fairy Tales and ends up being, next to Clint, blah, blah. But yeah, I do think we're going to see some interesting gameplay. He goes back to the floor, smart dude. And then we've got Maury, hotels and motels. I've been waiting for that category. We did not see that category played this week. I'm sure that'll be next week. We did, however, see that Kenny, her husband, got to stay in the audience.
Yes.
That, dear viewers, is unheard of in Floorland. You do not get to stay in Floorland. You leave Floorland. You do not pass go. You do not collect $100. You see our lovely travel people who book you on the next flight available to get you out of the vicinity. So the fact that they let him stay shows you that being a bachelor and bachelorette has its privileges. So
we were
he got
just
to stay.
surprised. We were like, oh,
I
Like,
was like, oh,
what?
hey, Kenny, you're still here. Like, yeah,
Can
Kenny's
I-
still
yeah.
here, so-
Can I ask you a question? Was it? Did you know he was in the audience before like that moment, or
Yeah,
because
he was
you
in
when you
there.
walk out you
Right.
see him?
He wasn't at the hotel, was he? He wasn't at the contestant hotel with you and on the bus and stuff, was he?
no, I
Oh.
don't remember.
After elimination, did you ever see him again until you saw him on the TV?
I did, because at some point I walked with him from the green room to set. I could be mixing my timeline up a little bit here, but
Oh, I
at
was
the-
gonna say, I was like, I don't know. I was like trying to make sure I'm not spoiling, but like at this point, I made it to the last day. So
Yes.
I saw him at the Exit Hotel. That's what. So I was confused when I
Hmm.
was like, oh, like you're supposed to be gone. So I was like, what?
That makes
He was
yeah,
eliminated. What episode was he? 2 or 3?
Stu, I think.
2, yeah.
Because
Okay,
that's
so
when-
earlier.
that's when Eric played him and won the travel.
That's
he
right.
He inherited travel accessories.
So I was surprised to see him.
Yeah.
There
I
was
mean, I'm
also-
glad. I mean, they're married. It's kind of cute. They can stay and hang out and whatnot. But it was kind of a moment where I was like, hey, that's different.
Yeah, it's we had, I don't know if you know this, Angie, but we had one, and I won't say this person's name, but we had a contestant who got eliminated and then wound up getting a taxi back from the Exit Hotel back to our contestant hotel. And when production found out, they were not happy about it. But I remember seeing, I'm like, wait a minute. And they just flashed me a
I mean,
smile
there
and
were a
waved.
few contestants that stayed on their own dime, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I stayed on
I
my
don't
own
think-
time, but even if you did, you weren't really supposed to mingle with anybody from
Right.
Canada.
Going
That
back
was
to
in
the
our
audience,
contract.
like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Well, we got, I want to pause here because this was my favorite category. I am, if you're following me on Instagram, like if you're one of like 3 people who care, and you go to @Angie_Warfield, you'll see my reel from this week on punctuation where I profile one of my favorite local old school presses, printmaking operations in St. Louis. I super geek out on that stuff. I think typography is amazing. I think style, font, all of it is super cool. So the fact that they did punctuation, I thought was great. It's something I remember chatting about a little bit in my auditions, in my interviews. It was not one of the categories I pitched to production, but I was thrilled to see it because it was a really cool, fun visual category. And again, this is a category that, like Tim said, is super accessible. I mean, even if English isn't your first language, most of us who read on the daily are familiar with the basics. And we knew that they were going to run through those basics pretty quick. You knew it was going to be a speed round of period, comma, quotation marks, etc. And then we were going to get to deep dive into some of the more obscure marks, which I was thrilled to see get their moment. I mean, they're essentially dead in the world of typography, but they were resurrected, and it was exciting. So what did you guys think of punctuation?
I thought it was gonna be easy, until I was looking, like, it was past the the easy ones, and we were getting to the paragraph symbol, and like, I mean, Ted, like,
Pilcrow.
he
Pilcrow.
knew his stuff. Like, yes, he knew his stuff, and it was just like really. And then also Mari, I think people just like assumed that she wouldn't know much, but like she knew her stuff too. It was definitely like, it was a really good duel, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were neck and neck, really. They really, really were.
yeah.
I
I
agree.
think the duels are at their best when the difficulty curve is such that like people can play along for a bit and then they like kind of get lost and then the
Yeah.
expertise really comes through. And I think Ted pulling out like the one that for me I didn't know because I didn't know the name of it, but and I hope I pronounced it correctly. Accente aigu.
Excellent
That
aigu.
was-
Yes,
Yeah, that's
that's
Yeah.
something good. Yep.
the French
Yeah,
accent
because in
mark.
my head I'm just like, oh, it's the accent that goes up. Like,
Yeah, I was
you
gonna say
know,
accent. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's the
Uh,
accent aigu that goes in that direction, and then the accent grave is the exact same in the opposite direction.
wow.
But then, I was telling you right now, I'm telling you, if they'd been faster, I guarantee we would have seen the interrobang, which I have
Yeah.
got to see come back, people. It is a brilliant mark that should be in the universe, and it is not. An interrobang is a combination of a question mark and an exclamation point for folks who don't know. There are a couple others I thought they might have. The one that's
Best players
within,
are keeping the interrobang alive for
yeah,
you, Angie.
interrobang. Well, you keep that alive for me. I think somebody out there should keep the interrobang alive.
In chess notation, like sometimes they'll mark a move with an interrobang if it's like very odd.
It's fabulous. I love that. There's there's something called a percontation if anybody's interested. I think it's cool too. It's a rhetorical question. So when you write a question, but it's a rhetorical question, you want to indicate that it's rhetorical, it's basically like an upside down question mark. Yeah, it's
Oh.
called a percontation. Anyway, I'm going to stop nerding out right now, but I thought it was really fun. I did think it was interesting that they used the pound symbol, and I wonder if she had said hashtag,
Right.
if they would have accepted it. It's also just fun fact. It's called an octothorpe. That's the actual word for it, rather than pound symbol. But I thought they were really cool, and it was fun. I thought the typewriter was a cute graphic. Just saying. Punctuation had a moment, and I appreciated it. Okay, we'll move on now. So Ted wins. Great. He keeps hotels, motels like a smart man. He goes back. And then we've got the cutest duel ever, according to Mr. Rob Lowe. And I will agree. It was absolutely the cutest duel. Laura and Amanda. Now, Laura is just this little ball of freaking adorable. I mean, I don't know if there's that person in America who could watch her and be like, I mean, you just looked at her like she was just this tiny little fun bundle of energy. And Amanda was equally as lovely. You could tell they'd been together on the floor for a while, that they'd developed some level of friendship, and they were going to go up there and duel. And we saw a lot of that happen in season 2 for our season, people who'd grown close and had to duel each other. So you knew there was a lot of that emotion happening, but they turned it into a real fun romp instead of, a tear fest. So what did you guys think watching it in real time? Did it seem campy? Did it seem fun? Did it seem like a weird break in routine? What were your thoughts?
So at first, I'm gonna be honest, I was really frustrated because I'm just gonna be real. I was really frustrated. I'm glad they didn't cut to me because I was really frustrated at first. But then when Laura goes, ooh, ee, ooh, I thought that was so funny. And I was like, you know what? This is like actually really cute. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was interesting though because there was one that was like just the way you are, where like Laura was like technically correct with Bruno
Where's the
Mars.
collision?
Wasn't
But
it one song?
It wasn't Song of the Year. So
It
that's
wasn't
why.
Song of the Year. Yeah.
That was what
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
awesome.
That because I was like, that's Bruno Mars, but yeah.
Yeah, if listeners are listening and you too were confused by that, it is a song by Bruno Mars, but the category was Grammy Song of the Year awards, and the only correct answer for that is Billy Joel. Um, I thought, tell me why you were frustrated, Tony. Unpack that a little bit. What irked
I
you in
was
the beginning?
frustrated because a lot of, I would say, a lot of things that I had expertises that I felt like I felt good in were going away. Um, I
Oh,
wasn't here to talk about the teen dramas duel, but when I tell you that was the most frustrating history of the floor, and the fact that it was my season two, I like, I can't even. Dawson's Creek, Degrassi is my favorite
girl,
TV show.
girl, I
Degrassi is my
wept. I
favorite TV
wept
show.
for America
I
at
could
that
talk
duel.
about Dawson's Creek for probably like 2 days straight.
Are you a Dawson or are you Team Dawson or Team Pacey?
I'm Team Pacey. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
If I say anything more, I'm going to start screaming.
All right.
So
We'll chat. We'll chat
I
off
am.
the
I think
pod.
I'm like probably one of the most passionate people, passionate Pacey Witter fans.
Love me some Pacey Witter.
Yes. So there's that. Rom coms. I love rom coms and seeing that go. And so when I saw Song of the Year go, I was like, oh my gosh, like I really wanted that one. And just seeing them miss stuff that I knew that I could get, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. Um, but as it was going, I was like, wait, this is like really cute. And Laura, I mean, she's always been great, and like Amanda, like her and I have gotten like close over the time, so it was just like it was really cool to see. It was funny, frustrating at first, but it was funny.
Now, Alex, do you feel similarly where there's some categories? Since you revealed you're an alternate, I'm going to assume cosplay was not one of the categories you would have selected for yourself, unless it was a happy accident that it's in your wheelhouse. But were there categories you saw come and go that you were like, dang, nabbit, I had that. I wanted that. I could have done that better.
Yeah, it's the trade-off to being someone who plays late is you avoid the potential humiliation of like going home really early. I feel like for whatever reason, it shouldn't be this way, but it kind of is. If you're a one and out late in the season, it somehow feels a little more dignified than if you're like a one and out on the first episode. But the trade-off is that you have to throw a lot of plans in the trash. And when I had, because as you guys probably know, yeah, like alternates go through the same casting process, and I pitched all these like food-related categories. So TV chefs, kitchen appliances, sushi, and I was helping Alex and prep for sushi, and I was like, I really wish it could be me, but like I'm just on the wrong side of
Oh
the board,
gosh, that
so I'll
probably
just.
must have been really frustrating for you.
That's
Oh,
hard,
that
man.
was that was I won't say irritating because we all wind up with the duels that we wind up with, but
Yeah.
I was just like, man, what a waste.
Well,
Um,
I think that you scout. Like when you get there on day one and you find out in cast, in the green room or the tent or whatever you want to call it, the assembly hall, you see the map and you see where you are on the floor that first day. And you immediately, I assume, look around like, okay, what's my plan? What are the categories I want? Where are the categories I think I could attack? And as you progress in the show, at least this was true for me, I was, what category do I want to go into the final duel with?
mm,
Especially when your original category is gone because you've dueled already. And so you start to look around like, okay, if I could plan, I want to end with that, inherit that, take that into the final. And so I can imagine that if you're looking at some of the categories you were really competent in, and then slowly seeing them get eliminated, you start to then try to figure out, well, what am I going to be dueling in the end?
Yeah.
For me, it was Shakespeare. I was going to I wanted to inherit Shakespeare and take that to the final. And so seeing it played for in real time when it aired, I was just like, because there's that moment where I was like, I wanted that. So I can see you feeling that way about sushi, about rom coms, especially about teen dramas. Tony, we can when I come see you in Nashville, we'll go out and have a beer and commiserate because
Yeah.
I too was wounded by that duel.
Yeah.
All right. So Song of the Year was fun. The girls made it really fun. It was a nice kind of palate cleanser in the middle of everything. Rob enjoyed it. I think America had fun watching it. But then, drum roll, we're going to get to Anatomies, which is why I'm super thrilled that both of you agreed to show up together. Because we're going to do a little mini departure. I hope this doesn't trigger
gosh.
anybody. And you can feel free to opt out. Of course, it won't be any fun, but that's fine. You can say no. I've prepared a very short 10 question anatomy rematch.
Oh
Duel.
gosh.
Okay. Now, because this is both a visual and audio show, I cannot really show pictures because people
Yeah.
listening later on the network won't know what we're talking about. And I'm going to make it about as easy as I can. I am going to name back and forth, starting with Alex, Tony, etc. I'm going to name anatomy parts that were not represented on the show.
Okay.
And your job is simply to say north or south. And what I mean is north of the umbilicus, also known as the
Okay.
navel, or south of the umbilicus on the standard human body. So I'm going to give you a body part. You say north or you say south, and that is
Do we
where it's
say it at the
located.
same time, or is it like we take turns?
No, we're going to go back and forth. So because there's no way for me to tell who's going to speak first. Although I guess Tim could probably gauge because I didn't think Tim would be with me when I designed this. I think we'll just go back and forth. Let's see what happens.
Go back and forth.
All
Go
right.
back and forth.
So number one goes to Alex, and number one is pituitary gland.
North.
Good man. Number two goes to you, Tony, adrenal gland.
North.
Correct. Number three, Alex, the thymus.
North. Are these just
Good.
all?
Well, you had thyroid in
Yeah.
your episode, so I thought that might be a gimme. Number four, Tony, epiglottis.
North.
Very good. Number five, Alex, the tarsus.
South.
Very good. Number six, Tony, patella.
Oh, south.
Good.
That one.
We did have that one. Yeah, she had that one.
Number seven, Alex, the gluteus.
South.
Very good. Eight, Tony, the duodenum.
Oh my gosh. North.
Oh, that's a big buzzer.
Wait, where
That's
is that?
south. It's north of the stomach.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Number nine, Alex, the rhomboid.
Ooh. 50-50. South.
Oh, Lord, it's a tie game. Ladies and gentlemen, tied game. If Tony gets this, she is the reigning champion.
Okay.
The appendix.
Oh, south.
Very good. Just barely south of the umbilicus lies the
I had
appendix.
to think about that because I was like, wait, that's kind of like close.
I know. Is it parallel
Yeah.
to the naval equator? Wow. Actually, you know what? I did a pretty good job picking those.
I had to think. That was
You guys
I
did
read
a
that.
good.
That was good.
You guys did really well. And I think it's only apropos that Tony ended up, inching you out there. It just very
for two.
consistent. Alex, I
don't
gave you a
have it.
redemption. I gave you a chance at redemption, bro. I'm sorry. The rhomboid, by the way, is on top of the pectoral muscle. It's up in the upper chest area.
Oh man. Okay. So there's two things. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but so that's bad for the same reason one of my other passes was bad. So I had a really bad shoulder injury back in 2023. I tore my pec major tendon off of the humerus. Which I passed on because I couldn't remember what that bone was, and for the rhomboid to also be in that same area.
Oh, that hurts. I'm so sorry.
That injury has gotten me 3 times now.
Were you flexing those pecs too hard? Were you making them dance? Is that what happened? Is that how
there's
you
no
tore
good
it?
Oh my
segue
gosh!
for
Wait.
this.
Also, I didn't even they didn't show this on the show, but like Alex, when we went up to duel, you were like you were like, hey, like don't feel intimidated. I need a stretch before I duel. And while they were doing the 3-2-1, I didn't know what you were doing because I was focused on my screen, but like I'm pretty sure you did like 5 cartwheels, a backflip, or something. I don't even know. Like I remember you like squatting down too, and I was like, I can't wait for them to see it.
Yeah.
Alex,
And
It's
Tyler,
like
yeah.
the
What
zone,
were
and it
you
was getting me
doing?
scared. It was getting me so scared.
What were
That's
you
why.
doing?
Yeah.
So
You said you were locked in. I remember that. And that's
Yeah.
what they cut to. You're like, I'm locked in. I was like, man, he's got this. What'd you do?
So this is a good segue. So I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 10 years. Though if you count injury time where I wasn't able to do it, including this period of time, I've been training Jiu-Jitsu for 8 years. And so the closest analog to this stakes of competition is Jiu-Jitsu competitions I've done. And prepping someone for Jiu-Jitsu competition was how I tore my shoulder. They had a shoulder lock position on me, and I was like, okay, well, like I've escaped this before, and then everything went horribly wrong, and I did not
Oh,
escape, and he couldn't let go in
imagine.
time. Yeah, but so that thing that I did, Tony, that kind of like that squat thing that I do,
Yes.
like it's a thing that I do before any of my tournament matches, and for me, I've associated it so much with competition that it kind of helps me like get grounded and be
Yeah,
in the right
center.
That's
mindset.
so wow. I was
That's
so
really
excited you put
cool.
that out.
That's really cool. Yeah, I remember watching Royce Gracie jujitsu when I was
Oh yeah,
like
UFC
younger.
one way back in
Um,
the day.
and I just remember thinking, you know what, that and in any MMA style match of any kind, the person who knows jujitsu has the upper hand. Like if you can
Yeah.
just get that person to the floor, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? The grapplers are always on top of it. So that's amazing. I wish we could have seen you do your power squats maybe another time. But that was fun. Thanks for playing along. That was great.
Oh yeah,
So, so Tony, you go back,
Oh wait,
or no,
I
you
do have
stay
a
and you go for Emily. That's right. You stay and you go for water brands.
yes, but I do have one thing to say
Please.
about anatomy because there was I even talked to Alex about this, but half of the stuff, half of the slides were like repeats of human body from season 1.
Yep. Oh,
The
yep.
sacrum that
Yep.
I got,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
the exact same
Yep.
picture, but they put coccyx for
Yep.
season 1.
I was gonna
Patella
say,
was a repeat,
yep.
clavicle was a repeat, trapezius
Yep.
was a repeat. I did rewatch the human body one, but like I like barely watched it because I was like, "There's no way they're gonna," because anatomy is like more specific.
It was. It was a
Mm.
total repeat, just
Yeah,
like
it was
Critters
a
was a
total
repeat of bugs.
bugs. I was like, y'all are using the same pictures.
I know.
Like that's crazy.
I really, I know that nobody on production listens to me and this or anything, but if you are, honestly, I would pro bono research
Yeah.
categories for you
And it's
because
like
I have a list
anatomy,
a
like there's
mile
so
long.
much going on. Like you could do 3 separate duels and all be different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
yes, you could do differently, 100%.
but yeah, I worked as a medical scribe for hand orthopedics. And so I heard radial and ulnar all the time. That's why I
Mhm.
said radial instead of
Yeah, you did,
radius.
and you went right out. Yeah, you're like boom, boom. Yep.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. That's
fibula.
why because I hear it all.
Yeah.
I don't really hear the word radius. I hear the radial to da 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 da.
Yep.
So when I saw that, I was like, boom.
Boom.
And then the reason why I messed up tibia and fibia or fibula, see, I messed it up
Fibula.
again,
Yeah. Tibia, fibula.
was
Yeah.
because there was like this Hannah Montana episode where they were like naming all the bones and like
Oh, I know that episode.
yes, there
I
goes
know
the
that
fibia.
episode.
That ain't no fibia.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, the reason why they're not getting it is because I said fibula wrong. And then I was
Yep.
like, wait, that looks like the tibia.
Yep.
And I was like, oh gosh.
Yep.
But yeah.
It was a close duel, though. Honestly, Alex, you put up a really good.
It was
fight.
really good.
That was
Yes.
probably
I
one
really
of the best
liked it.
duels of the evening. That and
That was, I
punctuation were
mean,
the closest.
I was assuming as soon as I inherited anatomy, I was like, so I'm probably just gonna go to the finale with anatomy. No one's gonna get me until they absolutely have to. And when Alex challenged me, I was surprised, but I was really excited because I was like, okay, so this is gonna be good because I didn't want it to be like a pass, pass, pass. and
Right.
then
You
go
knew
into the
anybody
counters.
coming for you was prepared on some level to
Yeah.
make it competitive, right? And I think that's what made it fun. For
And
sure.
I will say there was another person on the floor, I won't say who had a past profession or past career that had to do with anatomy, and they were trying to go for me, and they were telling everybody else except for me, and I was like, okay, I was ready for that person to come after me, and they didn't. It was Alex, so I had no idea he was gonna come for me, and it was a really good duel.
That was really fun. And it was a good surprise. I think people might have thought you would have gone for endangered species because, you'd been with like right next to them from the jump pretty much, a little bit more. And then trees had been there a while. But I think, Tony had been there. Anatomy had been in your region anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like it wasn't, like Alex adjacent. It was in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Endangered animals was funny because I never liked the idea of doing that category because the space felt really wide.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was one of those categories where you could hit this really nasty wall of like, okay, now we're in these really obscure animals, and it's just pass,
Oh,
let's go
yeah.
home.
We
There
know
was-
what that's like the horn-billed, beak-peppered,
Yeah,
tufted,
exactly.
Yes,
butterscotch,
exactly.
something
And then
or other. We
I
had that
had
in
this
season
weird
2.
thing with animals. Like I did study endangered animals a little bit when I was next to him, and I am like, I'm really like weird when it comes to stuff like that. Like I get very jump scary when like searching up animals, so I just hated studying for that category, and I'm like, I don't want to jump scare in front of America, so I'm good.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, if they did like a reptile one for me, I'd be that way. Snakes
Be
are
it
like,
like tigers
creep
and
me
like
out. Yeah.
like creepy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
also didn't feel
water
like-
bottles. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, I also didn't think I had a lot of upside in going for Andrew that early, because Andrew, I feel like all of season 3, everyone's been sleeping on Andrew, but like Andrew's a very, very solid
Yes.
player
Yeah,
on
definitely.
an awkward category, and then if I won, then I'm still in the same spot where it's the same 3 categories. It doesn't
Correct.
unlock anything new for me. So if I won the time boost, I'd still have to go for something else. So my idea, if I'd won and I'd felt up to continuing, was to wrap around and go bottled water brands, and then if I was feeling up for it, then I would go for Andrew. But some of it too was just I've been close to Andrew for so long. I didn't want to duel him early.
Yeah.
And then I never told you this, Tony, but some of it too was I knew that, and I hope you'll forgive me for saying this, I'm slightly better friends with Alex and Andrew than I am with you, and I knew
Yeah.
both of them felt pretty confident about cosplay. So I knew that if I gave you cosplay, they would each have a way to take you out, and you would probably have lost a time boost. So
Yeah, I was really scared because Andrew, like Alex said, is a really good player. He proved himself on the floor, but I think people really underestimate him. I knew he knew endangered animals. That's like part of the reason why I didn't go against him. And then also, I knew he knew cosplay. So when I inherited that, I was like, please, please, please don't let me go against Andrew if I'm doing cosplay. Like, I can't. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
So let me, Alex, let me ask you this question, because you're a software engineer, right? And my degree was in electrical engineering, and anatomy, I would say, is not directly what we had studied in school, but it's really adjacent. Like when you're in an engineering type in computer science field, you have to study like those other ones, even if it's not your major, right? You've done the chemistry, you've done the biology, right? I kind of liken it to how Brad was talking about on our season. Keelan, everybody was afraid of him, and everybody was afraid of Tony for a long time with anatomy and a time boost. But it's like, do you feel that? I mean, maybe you answered the question already on the show because you actually went for it. But it's like, hey, I'm a smart dude. I could go for it, and like there's a finite number of things on the body.
That's kind of what I figured. Some of it, it's just one of those things where it's like I feel like as trivia people, we don't always know where the knowledge comes from, but just naturally some things stick a little bit more. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just because I've been injured enough or something. But like, I do seem to have
Oh yeah, you like
possibly.
totally know what the humorous is, yeah?
Yeah, you would hope, because they had to re-glue some stuff back there, and yet I don't know what it looks like in the picture. Apparently, my physical therapist is going to make so much fun of me. But oh, and speaking of people making fun of me, that reminds me. After I missed fallopian tubes, like, after I had to pass on, I was just thinking, like, oh, my female friends are going to never let me hear the end of this. So then when
you
Opus
you
came
don't
up, I
wanna
was
hear
like,
what-
you're not getting me twice.
Okay, it was a little too zoomed out. Honestly, I might have
It
passed
was.
on that.
And the ovaries looked so tiny.
I know.
You don't want to hear what Angie said when we
No.
were on the call together.
Oh,
we might have
gosh.
to take this. We might have to take this offline
Oh,
afterwards.
gosh.
Damn. They may have to go after me.
Oh,
We
God.
can do it
After
after
the
the
recording.
I won't be offended. Yeah, it was part of it too. Is I just always told myself like, to basically live up to all the trash talk that I do from the couch is like, be a disciplined passer. It doesn't matter if you know what the thing is. You have to pass intelligently.
Yes.
And then
Mhm.
the other trash talk from the couch I always had was, I think I'm faster than most of these people. And hopefully, I was at least as fast as I thought I was on the screen.
You were. It was
were-
good. It was a
And,
good
and I
duel.
think and also after filming Wrapped and everything, and we were just like, Alex was saying oh yeah, I was totally crushed by Tony. I don't know, you knew all this stuff, and I was like, no, that was probably the scariest duel by far. You were really good. I'm so, and I had the time boost, so it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I would have had 2 seconds left if it wasn't for that time boost,
Yep.
which sometimes it goes out even if it's 2 seconds.
Yep.
So that was a really close duel.
Yep.
I think that's the closest it's been for somebody using a time boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
Yeah,
would,
in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Logan had a rough one where it was just
yeah.
that I think she just didn't know the category.
She lost with the time
Right.
boost,
She
yeah.
lost with the time boost. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah, the other way Em.
Well, and so here's the question. We're gonna get to the time boost question in just a second. I know that Tony, you had some options there. You got cosplay. You're like, well, I could stay,
Yeah.
defend it. Why did you go for Emily and Waterbrands? If your ultimate plan may have not been to
So-
continue.
Okay, so I feel like a lot of people think. Okay, so I'll just say this: I had two main reasons as to why I went for Emily Waterbrands. Number one, I studied it like a lot. As soon as it was next to me, I was just studying it constantly, and I was like, okay, let me play this since I've studied this. And then number
Yep.
two, I just like to play.
Yep.
Dueling is really
Yeah.
fun. Like,
It's fun.
And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about how fun dueling is. Like,
It's fun.
after I
I-
finished Anatomy, I had
Brad's
this
not
much that I was
here
like,
anymore, right?
I want to play again.
Yeah.
And like that was basically it. I also like didn't want to see it go away. Like I was like, I don't want to. I didn't want to study all of that for nothing.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, if you were
And I
prepped,
knew
you
that
wanted.
if I didn't go for water
Yep.
bottle brands, somebody else would have gotten it.
Yep,
So I
and
was
you
like,
were
I studied
prepared.
this much. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I studied so much that when I was watching it the other night, I didn't even remember half of the stuff that I said. I was like, "What is that?" I was like, "I didn't even know." Like that was a
Yep.
pure anatomy, math, like obviously, like and even fantasy films. Like I knew stuff from prior
Yep.
knowledge, but like water bottle
Yep.
brands past Dasani, I don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. If somebody else had taken it and you didn't get a chance to demonstrate that you were a good preparer,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there are some of those categories that some of us studied for and would have said, like I studied periodic tables.
Yeah.
I thought I might get that, and go for that. And I was like, it would suck to have memorized all that and know it cold and then see somebody else do it and be like, like it
Yeah.
could have gone better. A little bit like teen dramas, but I digress.
And I feel like Emily knew water bottle brands more than her original category.
Yeah, she
Oh,
really
no,
did.
Emily was really
She did,
strong
but
in
then
that category.
on our show when she was here, she said she didn't pitch teen dramas,
Yeah.
and didn't expect that, and also she said she had memorized more actors and character names than
So
show
for
titles.
that,
But I
it's like
still,
if you know Pacey Witter,
yeah.
why don't you know
Why
Dawson's
don't you
Creek?
know Dawson Creek? Girl, you preach. All right. So you won that one, which was great. I think we all agree there were some super obscure water bottles.
Can I jump in really quick with
please,
using
Alex.
Alex together on this? Yeah, sorry, Angie. It was so after I got to the exit hotel and drank a beer, the fastest I've ever drunk a beer in my life, I think. As I was ordering my second drink, Emily comes into the lobby, and I was like, "Oh, like I wonder exactly. I guess I have some guesses about what happened." And before I can like ask anything, Emily just points right at me. And she was like, "Tony came for me right after you got me eliminated," and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Good to see you, I guess."
Yeah. Let me order a bottle of water for you from the bar.
I know. At this point, I've won 5 duels, and so has Alex. And me and Alex are kind of at this point just like I feel like we took a lot of favorites out. Like I feel like it's just like
It's
raise your
bound
hand
to
if you've been
happen.
personally victimized by Tony or
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
That's kind of like yeah. Yeah.
The
So
double.
me and Alex were just kind of just like laughing about that on the floor, like dang, like
Yep.
kind of feel
You're the
bad.
double assassins over there for sure.
Because there
So-
was, I mean, I took out Emily like kind of senselessly. I was kind of just like, I studied.
That was
this,
the
that you
this,
wanted to
send her
flex.
home.
You were flexing your water bottle knowledge, Tony. There's no shame in that. There's no shame. But here, I got to ask a question. I don't think that since they filmed us back to back, that they changed any of the game rules. That doesn't make any sense that they would. And the game rule is that to get a time boost, you must win 3 consecutive duels. But if you use a time boost in a duel, that does not count. You must spend your time boost before assuming a sequence of 3 more wins. So
What?
even if you'd gone for another one, in other words, your time boost victory can't count as a victory. You have to start over after that. And so if that's the case, and this happened in our episode because I believe something was misspoke during filming. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking, no, you can't do that. Plus, you can't use it in the final duel either.
Yeah, I know that.
Um,
Yeah.
So even if you had gone on, you would have had to win 2 more, I believe, unless they changed the
No,
rules.
Rob
And
said
that's what
Rob
I'm
was like,
wondering.
you could win 1 more and get
We-
the time boost.
But
We
when-
know
we're not
that
sure
Rob
if
doesn't
that's-
always say the right thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Do
We-
you,
What?
we
I
think-
actually
yeah.
didn't know that.
do you remember? or not.
don't
I
think
have
that's
I have a
what-
copy of the rules from when we signed them.
Wow.
It
But
sounds familiar
Because
now
so
that
many
you bring
people
it
were
up.
asking me why didn't I go for the time boost, and like honestly, I was like, why? Like I don't want to become a whale. I don't.
Right.
I didn't
Right.
want that unless I had to.
Right. But if you think about it in terms of fairness, if you win a duel with an advantage, the idea that that would count as a regular win seems a little disingenuous. It's like you have to start the clock again. That's how it was explained
Oh.
in our briefing. Now, whether or not that is how it is ultimately interpreted by production, as long as they're consistent in application, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But that's how I understood it.
Wow.
That was the understanding in the final episode with me, and not continuing because I was like, well, I can't get a time boost unless I beat like two more people, so I'm not going to try. But it doesn't matter. I'm just asking you if anything was clearer to you, or
No, I thought that if I went up one more time, I would get the time boost, but I wasn't. I was like, I kind of like faked it, like, oh, should I go for it? I was never gonna go for it.
okay,
I was next to Andrew, who had endangered animals. I was scared of him, and then I was next to my left.
Poetry.
I was
Yeah.
next to Poetry
Yeah.
Alex. I was like, oh, and then under me were two whales. So I was touching Brian and I was touching Kathy.
Yeah.
And I could have gone for Kathy, but that was her original category.
yeah,
Yeah.
And also, I didn't know anything about murder mysteries. A lot of people were saying that, like, we'll talk about this later, that, like, Ashley didn't know any of the classics, but, like, I was like, I didn't know them either. And I'm glad
Yeah.
I didn't go for her.
Yeah.
But if I did study murder mysteries, let's say I did, and I was able to, like, at least play well, maybe even win, I would definitely go back to the floor because at that point there'd be one duel left.
Yep.
And the only people that could be randomized next to me were Ashley
Yep.
and Laurel, who has a crown.
The crown. Yep.
And I kind of know cosplay at this point, so I was like, honestly, like that would have been a good plan too. But like
Yeah.
that would have overwhelmed me, so I
Yeah.
just didn't do it.
Mhm.
No, that's really, I mean, I have no question at all about your choice. I was asking out of my curiosity because, things change. Like they added the time boost, they didn't have it in season one. And so each iteration of the show, I wonder how they change or alter any of the rules or gameplay or, mechanics of the game. And that's why I was asking. So that's, and perhaps there was confusion too because it was the first time they did the time boost. And it's
Yeah.
very possible that they had an idea in mind of how that was going to advance, but it may have just gotten kind of changed in the course of actually executing it as an option. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can have a whole list of like, you can use it here, 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 not here, not here. But then as the game goes on, it might just be like, oh no, any three is going to count because it'll be too complicated to try to enforce other logistics.
Oh,
Anyway,
I really thought if I went for another one, I'd go for again a time.
well,
boost.
and
Right.
it probably would have been that case because that's what Rob said on camera.
Yeah.
So they'd have to honor that anyway.
Well, so
Yeah, they
here's
could've
what I
said
think
that.
would have happened. I really feel like if there was a real issue, production would have stepped in and stopped things
Right.
and
Before advancing.
explained everything again and probably given you the choice to do something different if that was actually a problem.
Definitely.
I don't know if that would have happened, but their job is to make sure the game is fair and played by all the rules that we have all agreed to. And
Definitely.
Rob said a few things on our season that also got edited because he was getting it from his earpiece,
Yeah.
and as he said something, and like all the contestants said, "No, that's not true." And he's like, "Oh," and of course they cut it out, but it was like one of those things. So I do feel like the legal team probably would have stepped in at that point if
Definitely.
that's what it came into.
Yeah.
so
their standards
I'm
and practices-
speculating.
Yeah, the standards and practices through is all over that stuff. I'm just asking because people were asking, why did you go for the drum boost? You don't have more. And I'm sitting there going, didn't she need two more? And you answered the question. So we're good.
I'm not gonna go for a time boost just to go for a time boost. I do
Right.
like to play just to play.
Yeah.
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 I
know.
was laughing about it with Alex N because Alex N and I chat a lot, and I had to kind of piece together things that happened afterwards. And it wasn't until like last week that I pieced together like, wait, hang on. So with minimal upside, Tony just like took out Emily, and I was like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I have no.
And
beef
that
with
made me
Emily.
laugh
In fact,
so hard.
Me and her, we were like, she was the only part of like that girl group that was kind of, and so like me and her were kind of like talking for a little bit. But yeah, what I really wanted to do was go for teen dramas and
Yeah.
water bottle brands.
Mm.
But I'll tell you.
But I was
you
like,
know
I
what?
studied up on both of these. I'm gonna do one of them. Let me
Well,
just-
that's a great point because honestly, the water brands are basically renting space in your brain.
Yeah.
At that point, if you're not going to purge that knowledge in the moment when it is super ripe and ready to go,
Yeah.
then you're having to hang on to it for
Yeah.
yet another round and wonder if you're going to have to get it or it's going to come or can you let it go because you only have so much space
Yeah.
to hold these categories tight and at the ready, right? So if
That's
you
how I
could have
felt
let it
about,
go, let it go.
State quarters, but I knew somebody as soon as somebody was next to him, they'd go for him.
Yeah.
But I really studied state quarters, and then when it was up there, I felt it a lot. I was
Yeah.
like, oh gosh.
It's like,
Man.
it's like it all
No,
comes
literally
out.
just like leaves your brain. So
Yeah.
like water bottle brands,
Yeah, I'm done.
I
I
think
don't know. It's
Mike
like,
did
yeah.
that to
that's it.
Mike.
All
Mike
right.
got a
Well,
lot of us that way when he took out state quarters because that was what I was prepping for. I wanted to go the reverse direction and go state quarters, competition shows, and then but Mike said as soon as Mike said I'm going to stay and play, I was like I know exactly what's about to happen,
Yep,
and I'm
Yeah.
going to
yep,
have to make
yep.
some new plans.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why wouldn't he? So, you go back. That's great, Tony. Take a breath. Get ready to compete next week. And then we see Tyler, another relative unknown, and he had a coveted corner spot, or seemingly coveted, because strategically speaking, there's probably a higher percentage of advantage there. Although I think at the end of the day, it can trap you. But Tyler's fairy tales and fables. He goes after Brian because I don't think he had another choice. I think it was David
It was
or
David.
Brian
It's just-
at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And I'd pick Brian too, even though he's on a run. He had just inherited construction. Construction also seems like something that might be a natural, easily accessible category for most people. I don't think they were going to get too in the weeds with construction. Most of us have seen construction crews. Most of us have read little board books on construction. If you had like a niece or a nephew and they were like, dump truck, cement mixer, excavator, maybe people knew it, maybe they didn't. But Tyler went for it. I thought it was pretty straightforward. Were there any images that anybody got hung up on with that? Again,
thought it
though,
was
he
pretty
passed
doable.
on some, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like
And
Tyler had a pass that surprised me, but I literally just watched yesterday.
Steamroller.
All of
He
this.
passed
Yeah,
the steamroller.
that's
Steamroller.
amazing, yeah.
That
Yeah,
surprised me.
construction was another. Yeah, I would say like every single, at least up until this point, every single category that Brian has inherited, I was like, oh yeah, somebody needs to take that because I'm not doing that.
you wouldn't have done well in construction, seeing
No,
it
I
played
don't even.
back?
I think maybe I went to the bathroom at that point. Like I can't even tell you how much I do not care about construction. Like,
Okay.
so I don't remember exactly. No, I did watch it, but I just wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just.
It was
watching.
it was not what I would call an exhilarating duel.
No.
Not in content or in execution. It was kind of a snoozer for me, to be fair. So let's move on, and we go to the last one. Okay, last one. Brian goes back as he should, and he basically says, "Well, we'll let the randomizer decide if Kathy gets another 10K." It randomizes Ashley, so Kathy's not out of the woods. There's a little mini panic of like, "Oh crap, is she coming for me?" And you're thinking, "Well, surely Ashley has authors." Murder mysteries, if we're assuming it's book titles. And again, I didn't have the category list for season 3 because I wasn't on it, but I have to assume that murder mysteries had in parentheses something like, books or novels or movies or some way of categorizing it per chance. I don't know. I can't think of any unsolved murders that most people would know. I'm thinking like John Benet Ramsey maybe and stuff like that. But it makes sense that they went for books. And yeah, it was fill in the book blank. And honestly, those were some New York Times bestsellers. I will say, as a reader and, a book nerd, I was disappointed. I was like, really? Like, Gone Girl? Really?
Gone Girl was
The
yeah,
Girl's
that was-
Guide
I
to
knew that one.
Murder.
Hey,
And
what's the name of
even
the category?
Ashley's like, oh, I read that one. I'm like, oh, it was
Yeah,
like, what's going
a
on?
lot of these, I don't read a whole lot, and I don't read a whole lot of murder mysteries either. But a lot of those were also movies.
Yes,
So
they
there
were
was
made
another
into-
way
Gone
in.
Girl.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I don't know. Maybe Ashley was assigned it in that haphazard way that it wasn't even what she wanted. But I was like, So now I'm super stoked that authors is still out there. I am super stoked that poetry is still out there. Those are categories I would have been gunning for. And I'm anxious to see who plays them next week. So that being said, Kathy won. Kathy got another 10K. Yay all day. She's back. She's got authors. Let's see what kind of a reader she is, if she's feeling confident with that category. What are your predictions? Tony knows a little bit more about what happens because she's still on. But Alex, let's throw it to you. I assume, unless people have been leaking and sabotaging their NDAs, you don't know who won. Let's just
Uh,
assume you don't know.
yeah,
And who would you predict is going for the
yeah.
victory?
In a recorded medium, that is what I will agree with. Well, statistically, there's only so many people who are allowed to be randomized. We kind of alluded to this earlier. So, based off of the preview, it seems like David plays at least once, and as good as Brian is, like David's brain, like basically everyone on the show, especially at this point, is like a pretty respectable trivia player. But there's like good, and then there's like David Madden good.
Hmm.
So safe money is on David playing, and then there's only one person he can play, and that's Brian. I love David. I get along with him pretty well. I don't like rooting for whatever the opposite of for the favorite. I don't like rooting for the favorite. I feel like it's
You're an
Root
boring.
for the
underdog
So
guy.
underdog.
I love
yeah,
it. Me
yeah,
too.
it's more fun that way. So I'm pulling for Andrew, or actually Tony. The trick from all my jiu-jitsu tournaments is you root for the person who beat you to win the whole bracket, so then you get to be like, oh well, like I lost, but it was the person who won gold,
A
so
Yep.
hundred
it's
percent.
fine.
A
No one
hundred
was stopping
percent.
him.
It's okay. You could be petty. You know what's so funny? When it was Alex's birthday, everybody in the group chat was like, "Happy birthday, Alex!" And he was like, "Thank you, thank you." And I said, "Happy birthday, Alex!" And he replied, "I forgive you."
Yeah.
Whoa! Oh, well, in that spirit of sportsmanship and all of that, Tony, let's just assume that you don't win. And if not you, then who? Who would you pick to take the whole thing?
um, I would say I've been looking at Alex. He's like a really strong competitor. I knew he was a strong competitor since that whole five duel, you know, thing. And then also Andrew, I think he's
Yeah.
like he like knows a lot of stuff that like just like he's very like he has a lot of experience with a lot of things. So it's like I would say those are two contestants. I
Oh, we lost you for a second, Tony. But I'm gonna assume Tony will be back through uh, when her bandwidth catches up with her. But I'm assuming she's thinking maybe the finals could be Andrew and Alex. We'll see. I think Alex, Joe thinks it could be Tony and David in the end. Maybe, who knows? Tim, who do you see in the finale, the final game?
It's
Who do you think it'll
it's
be?
tough. It's like everybody's already talked about David and how strong he is. Like he is so strong that um so we all had shared, so especially to the listeners out there, we had a shared Zoom meeting, multiple Zoom meetings with season 2 and season 3 folks. And Dan Avila, who was on our season, was a Jeopardy champion. He got to the end on Greed. He's played, I think, 17 now. This is 18 game shows. The one guy he called out on that Zoom was, "Oh my gosh, David Madden is on the call," and he was in nothing phases Dan, right? But Dan
Yeah,
was like, "Oh,
he's
that's
stoic.
dude's," and then when David didn't show up for our season, Dan was like, "Okay, he's probably on season 3 at that point," which yes, it happened, but yeah, he's a strong competitor, and you know he's going to get randomized before somebody challenges him. So he has to take on
Yep.
Brian. David, I don't know him really personally, but as a 19 game Jeopardy champion, he has a wide range of knowledge.
Hi.
And
Yeah.
so it's tough to bet against him, but um, there's some other people who can really surprise you. There's a bit of luck in here. There's a lot of skill, a lot of speed, and you know what? I'm just happy to watch.
Yeah. I am the same way. I will say I'm going to go out on some limbs here. I One of my predictions is I'm not entirely sure that the Jeopardy championships translate to the floor. So for that, I'm going to say I think we've got some sleepers in Clint, Megan, who I was impressed with from the jump, and Andrew. And I think you've got some weird categories with classic cars and trees that might keep people away for a little bit. They're kind of really esoteric and strange. A lot of them look alike, trees and cars, and a lot might be hard to differentiate. I also think that Megan has been back there along with Andrew and Clint. They've been there from early on, able to kind of really prep and see and have some time to study some of these categories that have been creeping up on him. So I'm thinking 2 of those 3 might make it in the final and surprise all of us. So I'll just say that for now. Now, talk to me at the end of next week's recap, and I'm sure that will change. But yeah, so that being said, we've got some really cool predictions. I'm interested to see what actually materializes. Tony, I know that you were listening to the show when we were doing it for season 2, and I super appreciate that. And I hope that Brad dissing your season doesn't change your affection for the program. And that, assuming you might make it further, episode 11 or 12, I do hope you'll consider coming back, because it would be really fun to talk.
This is. You mentioned it earlier. We're talking about the Flormily, the Floor family, right? And it's like your real family. You love everybody except for my idiot sister-in-law. But let's not go there. But it really is kind of like that. How do you pick favorites? Angie, you've got one child.
I have one.
Alex and Tony, you don't have any children.
I never wanted to choose.
Okay. So we can't choose.
And it's always people that like. For example, like my siblings, like they piss me off sometimes, but I still love them. Like I'll still defend them. Like I could talk about them, but you can't.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Number of like social media crash outs I've had to like keep myself from like. Yeah.
I some of them I didn't even hold back.
I don't even get on the Reddit boards, because I've read some things and I just know I'd spend all day defending people I care about, and I'm like, I don't have the time. So I back away. But it's good that we have each other's backs. I think it's fun. And, it's always good to hear honest criticism and feedback from people who are seeing this. And Brad does represent like the average viewer and above average viewer, because he's invested in the show and what we're all doing. So it's always good to kind of get a little reality check, if you will, from people outside of our bubble. So that being said, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Alex. And Tim, as always, I appreciate you backing me up tonight. Everybody, keep tuning in. We've got 2 more episodes of this awesome game show, America's #1 game show. And we hope to see you next week as we recap episode 11. Take care, everybody. Okay, I just stopped it. I need to wait just a second till I see everybody's uploaded, and then you're welcome to skedoot if you want.